Welcome to Purposeful Living. My name is Melissa, and this platform is designed to help you grow in every area of your life so that you can grow confidently into all that God has called you to be. We're going to be talking all things related to faith, health, fitness. So with that said, let's get right into today's episode. Today, I wanted to talk about managing our expectations, because some of us have to really guard our heart with these false expectations that we set. It's like we get frustrated with a friend because they don't handle situations the way that we expect them to, or we get mad at our spouse because we do all of these good deeds with the expectation that they're going to change, and then that doesn't happen. Or we get frustrated at work because we go above and beyond with the expectation that we're going to get some type of recognition, and then that doesn't happen. But that is a problem with having expectations, is that when they're not met, then we get upset at the individual that didn't live up to them, even though sometimes our expectations are just not realistic. And that's the thing, like, we also have to be honest with ourselves. Are we setting expectations up of people that are just not attainable to reach them? Some people are just not wired like you and me, and sometimes we just have to accept a person for who they are, or accept the situation for what it is, right? It's like if we're dating someone for years, we know all of their bad habits, their behaviors, their character traits, and then we decide to marry that person. But we go into this marriage with these expectations like, oh, I'm going to change all of this person's bad habits. And then now we're married, and now we're angry because this person's not changing. Now we're miserable in this marriage, but the problem is not that the person didn't change. The problem is that you expected them to change. And that's the thing, like, if someone shows you who they are, then we also have to believe it, right? It's like Judas with Jesus, right? Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. And he knew that betrayal needed to happen in order for scripture to be fulfilled. But he knew who Judas was. He wasn't sitting there trying to change who Judas is. No, he knew exactly who he was. And some of us, we have Judas in our circle, in our friendships, in our environment, in our businesses. And then we're getting mad when that person betrays our trust. But we know exactly who they are, and we still chose to confide in them. We still chose to give them access to us. So sometimes managing our expectations means also using wisdom and using discernment. And so today I just wanted to give you 3 practical tips on managing your expectations. 1, communication. We have to stop assuming that people can read our minds, and we just have to be willing to be open and honest with other people about our communications. Don't be afraid to communicate your expectation. And at the same time, we also have to be willing to listen to other people's expectations. 2, evaluation. Let's be honest with ourselves and evaluate these expectations that we have. Let's write them down, right? Let's examine every area of our life, marriage, work, business, spouse, and really ask ourselves, what are we expecting out of our spouse? What are we expecting out of our business? What are we expecting out of our friendships? And now let's write it down, because when we can write it down and actually read it, we can really see, like, is this expectation even healthy? Is it even realistic? And the last one, have grace. People are people, and they're always going to fall short. Our loved ones are going to disappoint us because we have expectations that they just cannot fulfill. And in those situations, we have to learn how to also have grace. Can you imagine the extent of grace that God has for us? Imagine if He was constantly trying to force us to change, or if His love for us came with conditions. Sometimes we have to just be willing to give people grace the same way that God gives us grace. And so I just hope that this video encourages you to really dig deep and ask yourself, what are you expecting out of all the people closest to you, right? And my favorite verse about this is Proverbs 17:22. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up bones. We have to guard ourselves from the disappointment and discouragement that comes from unmet expectations. We have to be willing to have those long and awkward and difficult conversations with people about our expectations. But we also have to be willing to ask ourselves if what we're expecting is even healthy or realistic. When we learn how to better manage our expectations, then we can stop living in discouragement and stop living in constant disappointment. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one.